What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the show. We got a GoBundance member, but probably, I don't know, a guy who's changed more lives than he even knows, even though he has big goals to do so. His name is Hal Elrod. I'm going to give him a proper intro. He's a loyal husband to his wife of 11 years, dedicated father to their two children. His mission in life is to foster meaningful connection and create memorable experiences for his family. When not with his family, he's sharing his message as an author, keynote speaker, amongst other things. After surviving multiple near-death experiences and impacting millions of people through his books and speeches, Hal is also on a mission to elevate the consciousness of humanity one morning at a time. I think you've done that. I really do. As the author of 12 books, most notably The Miracle Morning, which is translated into 37 languages, that's crazy, and sold over 2.5 million copies, he is doing exactly that. His latest project is the brand new Miracle Morning movie, a documentary that shows how millions of people are transforming their lives by simply changing how they start their day, and it is epic. Hal, welcome.
Jamie, thank you for having me, brother. It's always a pleasure to be with you and with just the GoBundance crew, man.
Yeah, man, this is an interview I sought for a while, so I know how busy it's been and how crazy it's been. So I really appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, how crazy it's been. So, you're a speaker, you do all these things. You're an author. You've been in this identity, if you will, as an author and speaker and keynote for such a long time. COVID changed a lot for a lot of people. Changed for me. Do I stay in my job, in this high level job, or do I leave it? I decided to leave it. And a lot of people did that as well, right? The Great Resignation.
Yeah.
For you, what is COVID, other than, we talked about it before we started recording, other than obviously you had to change maybe the way in which you speak and where you speak and virtual versus in person, but existentially or just, reflectively, what has COVID meant for you? The not the disease, but this pandemic period. What has it done in your life or been in your life?
Yeah. There's been a lot in March 2020, right around that time, right when COVID, kind of hit and it became part of the collective consciousness, if you will. I asked myself, what should I be focusing on right now? And I asked myself that for me, but also, for 2 decades, I really have viewed my purpose in life is to fulfill my potential so that I can help other people do the same, right? So it's kind of two sides of the same coin. So anytime I'm enduring anything, especially challenging, I'm always looking at what's the lesson in this for me, and then that I can share with other people. And so when I asked myself what I should focus on, I realized that, I was focusing on things that were out of my control. And if you're listening to this and you're a human being in the world, right, in the last 2 years, that which is out of our control has been amplified by every media source. When I say media, I don't just mean the media. I'm talking politicians. I'm talking media. I'm talking, right, companies. It's become part of the collective consciousness, things that are out of our control. And what I realize is that when we focus on things that are out of our control, we feel out of control. As simple as that might sound, like stop and think about that. When you focus on that which is out of your control, you feel out of control. And that is what creates anxiety. And that's what creates states of fear. And that's what creates depression. And so when I got just really clear and aware of that, I went, okay, well, what's in my control? The only thing I should be focusing on to feel, a sense of control over the things that I can control is myself. And that's what I realized is the only thing I can ultimately control. I can't control other people or the government or what anybody else is doing. I can only control myself and optimizing myself. And so my practice that, is my life's work, the Miracle Morning, I just doubled down. And I went, I'm just going to focus on my Miracle Morning. I'm going to focus on optimizing my mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual well-being so that I can show up every day for myself, for my family, for those that I love and those that I lead in the most effective possible way that I can. And so that's what it's been. It's realizing it's just been really amplifying, what's out of our control being thrown in our face, and realizing that the only thing we can control at the end of the day is ourselves. And the beauty of that is that, that's a huge opportunity for us to wake up every day and, and become the best version of who we can be.
How do you double down on that practice? Are you saying like more time, more consistency, more focus? What do you mean by doubling down on the practice?
That's a great question. So interestingly enough, so there's 2 parts to how I would answer that. One is it just meant remembering how important it is, right? Like I think we can get in, even though the miracle mornings are really powerful, productive, daily ritual, it's still a ritual. And you can get kind of in a rhythm where it becomes unconscious and you're just going through the motions. And I think that's what had happened. I was on chemotherapy for 3 years when the pandemic hit. It'd been about 3 years. And there's a thing called chemo brain, and it's usually made kind of light. Oh, the doctor will say, "Oh, that's just you complain of these symptoms, doc. I'm having trouble with my memory, and I'm having trouble processing information and my cognitive abilities." And they go, "Oh, yeah, that's just chemo brain." They kind of brush it aside. I can tell you, as someone that suffered, it's a very real, scary thing. And for the first time in my life, I developed anxiety and deep, deep, deep depression, Jamie, where I was thinking of suicide every single day. It was bad. And I ended up, I led a team of people in the Miracle Morning organization. I let everybody go. I literally fired, other than my assistant, I let our entire team go because I couldn't function. I couldn't show up to meetings. And so against doctor's orders, I said, I'm done taking the chemo. And he said, I think you should keep taking it. I said, no, I can't handle it anymore. I stopped taking the chemo. And then I asked myself, why am I still feeling depressed when I'm doing my miracle morning every day? Because for those that don't know the backstory, like in 2008, when the US economy crashed, I crashed with it. And I got depressed because I lost my house. I lost my income. I had to move back in with my dad at, 29 years old and engaged, not part of my plan. And I created this morning ritual called the Miracle Morning. And my depression went away almost instantly, because the first day I did that miracle morning, it wasn't even called the Miracle Morning, it was just my morning routine. But the first day I did it, I felt so inspired and had so much clarity. I had been depressed for 6 months, drowning in debt, and like many other people, very common story. And I did this morning routine, and within a couple of months, I doubled my income. I committed to run a 52-mile ultra marathon. My depression went away. Such profound transformation that I told my wife, this morning routine feels like a miracle. And she goes, "It's your miracle morning." I go, "Yeah, I like that." Right. So the point is, fast forward to 2020, and I went, wait, the Miracle Morning got me out of my depression in 2008. I'm doing my Miracle Morning every day. Why am I still depressed? Why am I struggling emotionally? Not to mention, there's no problems. I know I had chemo and all of that, but why is the Miracle Morning not working? And I pulled out my journals and my affirmations and everything from 2008, 2009, 2010. And so this is an interesting answer to this question, because it's the opposite of what people would expect. Doubling down on my Miracle Morning was when I realized, so first I mentioned the first side of that coin is how important it was that really focusing on using my morning practice to develop myself into the person that I needed to be to create what I wanted for my life. But doubling down, it actually wasn't about advancing the Miracle Morning or trying anything new or different. It was about going back to the basics. I realized that, like we do in our profession, right? In real estate investing, they say, don't lose sight of the one that got you to the dance, right? Meaning we end up learning advanced techniques, and then we get away from the fundamentals. And that's what had happened with my Miracle Morning practice, is I'd gotten away from the fundamentals. It was too different. It had lost the essential components. And so doubling down was actually going back to the basics and really approaching it with a beginner's mindset. And once again, it worked. Within a matter of months, my depression was gone, and I was, and back to my mission of elevating consciousness.
When you go through these periods, and I want to come back to beginner's mindset, because that there's a question in there, but when you go through those moments, 08, 2020, you mentioned fear, you mentioned anxiety, you mentioned depression. What's your relationship with those in that moment? Are you leveraging them, or are you running from them? And is there a difference?
How do you mean by leveraging them?
Like, is it something where you're saying, okay, I've got this depression, let me use it to get to this place where I double down on my Miracle Morning or create the Miracle Morning in the first place? Do you think in those terms, or is it like, I got to get rid of this? This has to go. I got to find something else to do in order to get rid of this? Or, is it something that you see as, like, if somebody's suffering right now from depression or anxiety, is it, hey, get away from it by doing this? Or is it, hey, harness and leverage the essence of that to drive you toward whatever it is that you need to do to get you out of it?
Yeah, I would say it's both, and even a little bit more. And here's what I mean by that. For sure, and maybe it's human nature, it's my personality type. I run from it. I enjoy being happy, like most of us do, and I do not like feeling out of control. I don't like feeling overwhelmed with depression, especially in 2020 after the chemotherapy, when it got to the point of me literally every day thinking, is there a way I could take my own life and not have it negatively affect my wife and children? Like that was I was trying to figure out the answer to that question. And thank God couldn't come up with a good answer. So thankfully I'm still here, right? Because couldn't think of a good way to do that. But I was literally thinking of how could I run off if I drove off a bridge and I maybe wrote a letter to the kids. No, there was no good answer. So for sure I was running away. I didn't want to experience it. It wasn't enjoyable. It was painful. That's an area of growth for me. And I'll tell you, so that's my superpower has always been like, oh, I have cancer. I'm not going to be depressed. I'm not going to be sad. I'm not going to be like, I'm just going to get through it. I'm going to like maintain the most positive mindset while I endure the most difficult time in my life. So for sure I was trying to get away from it. And the area of growth for me is actually to be at peace with all emotions. And so if someone's enduring depression right now, number one, it's temporary. Right. And that is one thing that I continue to tell myself every day, like that serenity prayer, allow me to, I don't even know what serenity prayer is, right? But it's the temporary component that this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass. So that was part of it was just really learning how to embrace, I feel depressed. That's okay. Because think of it this way. Painful emotions are painful, but they become amplified 2, 3, 4, 5, 10-fold when you resist that emotion, when you judge that emotion as wrong and I don't want to feel this way. Why do I feel this way? This isn't right. That judgment, that resistance of reality is way more detrimental than the actual initial emotion. So think of it this way. If you're experiencing depression, sadness, anger, whatever the emotion may be, if you're experiencing it, but you don't resist it, you go, interesting. I'm feeling angry right now. Why is that? Is there something here for me to learn? Why am I angry? Is there something that I did or someone else did that violated one of my values that is causing me to feel angry? Or I shouldn't say causing me. I don't like ever putting the blame on something else. It's always that is creating a stimulus for me to get angry inside, feel angry inside, right? So the point is being at peace with all of our emotions. And that for me was a huge growing opportunity. In terms of leveraging it though, I've been leveraging the way that I view all adversity. It happened when I was 20 years old. I was in a head-on car collision at 80 miles an hour. I was found dead at the scene. I broke 11 bones. I came out of a coma 6 days later to be told I would never walk again. And I had permanent brain damage. And I applied what I just shared in terms of, I'm like, well, I can't change it. I accept it. I might as well have a positive attitude in the midst of this. But where the leverage came in was, why did this happen to me? And not from a victim perspective. So I'm encouraging you, whenever you endure struggle, adversity, ask yourself, why is this happening to me? Not from a victim mindset, but from a purpose mindset. What can this experience teach me? What can I learn from this? How can I use this to become a better version of the person that I am now? Right. And my mindset is that every experience is an opportunity for us to learn and grow and become better than we've ever been before. And the more difficult the experience, the greater the opportunity to learn and grow and become better. And so when I was in the hospital in 99, 2000 from the car accident, I asked that question. And, it's funny. At that time, I was a sales rep for Cutco, and I used to speak at all of our events. And I had this dream of being a motivational speaker. And I remember being in the hospital and telling my dad, I said, Dad, look, I've decided if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, this was when I was still told I wouldn't walk. I've decided I will be the happiest and most grateful person that you've ever seen in a wheelchair, because I'm in a wheelchair either way. I've decided I will never allow my uncontrollable circumstances to dictate my inner experience of the world, of reality, of my life, my emotional well-being. And I said, and Dad, here's the funny part, or funny, whatever. I don't know, it's funny. I said, I've always wanted to be a motivational speaker, but I had a really normal life. You and Mom were good to me. I haven't really had any, crazy things happen. maybe that's why this is happening. And as soon as I left the hospital, within weeks, I had a cane and I went and spoke at my high school. And then I started a speaking career to high schools and colleges, and that kind of gave birth to my life's work. So to bring this to the pandemic, 2020, when I was depressed, I had a breakthrough. And I went, I've never suffered this kind of depression where I am in such a dark place that I don't want to live. But there are millions, maybe tens of millions of people that have suffered or are suffering from that. And I started to realize once the pandemic hit and people lost their jobs, I started to realize, wow, mental health, if it's not already a crisis, which I think it was before the pandemic hit, sure, it's going to be a crisis. And for me to make the biggest impact that I can make in the world on other people, I have to understand what they're going through. So while as much as I hate the way I feel and I hate feeling so depressed that I don't want to live, there's a purpose in this. This is an opportunity for me to figure this out, to transcend this depression, however long it takes, and to then develop the abilities to help other people do the same, but to have those abilities with the necessary empathy and understanding to meet people where they are so that I can lead them through what I experienced to where they want to go.
Wow, man. Wow. There's a lot there. I want to go back to the beginner mindset here in a second, but I wondered this, and this just, I don't know exactly how I'll ask the question, but you've been through the way I read it in 2000, when you had your accident, they thought you were nuts because you were so positive, right? There wasn't really a depression, at least not outwardly. I don't think you really,
I wasn't depressed at all in 2000.
Experienced that at all, right? Yep.
No. Yeah.
But in 08, you went through this.
Yes.
2020, you went through
depression.
It again.
Yeah.
Mild depression, more severe in 2020. And I for me, I know that I've gone through, I'm in my 40s now. I've gone through moments of that as well. And, whenever I come through, I'm starting to feel or realize, I guess, like it's going to happen again. Like I'm going to go through these moments in my life. I call it like a battle inside. It might be between your authenticity and your ego or whatever it is, but something is going to create friction in you again, and maybe depression or anxiety or whatever it is. Do you feel, maybe it is just the miracle morning, but is there a level of preparedness that you have now for the next time that maybe inevitably this happens again? Is there a way that you're thinking about, not like, hey, okay, wait, next time I'm depressed, you watch how I'm going to come through it. But like, are you feeling like you need to prepare yourself cyclically for this to happen again in life?
Yeah, I think so. I think that for me, one of the greatest lessons I've learned, and I kind of touched on it a few times, but it happened when I had my car accident. The lesson I learned a year and a half for my car accident, and I learned it in my Cutco sales training. Our manager, my mentor, Jesse Levine, taught me the 5-minute rule. And the 5-minute rule says that, hey, when something goes wrong, when you experience a failure or a disappointment, when something goes wrong, you set your timer for 5 minutes. And we were taught, set your timer on the phone for 5 minutes. You get 5 minutes to feel all of the emotions that are coming up. Cry, bitch, moan, complain, vent, punch a wall, like whatever you got to do. Feel all of it fully. Don't suppress it. And then when the timer went up after 5 minutes, he taught us that there's no value in dwelling for an extended period of time on destructive emotions that are causing you to feel terrible. And so we were taught after 5 minutes, when that timer goes off, you say 3 very powerful, but really life-changing words. Can't change it. You acknowledge, I can't change what happened 5 minutes ago. So there's no point in wishing it were different. There's no value in beating myself up or dwelling on it or just continuing to be so emotionally distraught. The only logical choice that we have at that point, he taught us, was accept it fully. Just go, okay, this happened. I can't change it, right? 3 words, powerful, can't change it. What can I change? What can I control? What can I do now to move forward? And I learned that in the context of, sales, missing a goal, having a huge order cancel that you had counted on the commission from, having an appointment, not show up when you were really looking forward to it, or right. So all these disappointments, it was really a microcosm for life. And when I came out of the coma and I was faced with this car accident, that's where I was able to quickly get to the point of, if I'm in a wheelchair the rest of my life, I'll be the happiest person you've ever seen in a wheelchair. And to your point, you mentioned this earlier, the doctors thought I was in denial or delusional. I called my parents in one day and they said, we're concerned with Hal. We believe that he is not accepting his reality. He's living in a state of delusion. And they said, we believe that because he's always smiling and laughing and happy and telling jokes. And they said, that's not normal. And the irony is their prognosis was completely 180 degrees wrong. They thought he can't accept it, so he's just pretending it's okay and checking out of reality. No, it was the opposite. I applied the 5-minute rule. I said, I can't change that I was in a car accident, so there's no point in wishing I wasn't. There's no point in being a victim. There's no point in feeling sorry for myself. What can I do? I can go to therapy every day, and I can maintain faith in myself that I can walk again. Even though they say I'm not going to, I'm going to focus on what I can control. And so every day I went to therapy and I gave it my all. And every day I visualized walking again and I prayed about walking again. And a week after I came out of the coma, the doctors came in with x-rays and they said, Hal, we don't know how to explain this, but your body is healing in ways that we couldn't have predicted. And we're going to let you take your first step tomorrow in therapy. And I went, I was taken aback and I took my first step, and the rest is kind of history, as they say. But what happened is that 5-minute rule. At first, I thought 5 minutes. I need longer than 5 minutes to be angry. I'm used to being upset for hours or days. And sure enough, the first time I did the 5-minute timer, it went off, and I go, I'm still upset. That's stupid, right? But what happened is, and for anybody listening, if you're thinking that like 5 minutes, I need, it's not long enough. What happened is after I did this for a few weeks, I literally can remember sitting in my apartment. I remember a woman on the phone being super rude. I felt these feelings of like rejection, and I was upset. And I set the timer for 5 minutes, and I go, oh, I can't believe that woman. What a, I think I said some choice words. And then I picked up my phone after I huffed and puffed for, a second. I looked at it and I had like 4 minutes and 32 seconds left. And I remember going, again, this is a few weeks after doing this 5-minute rule. I put the phone down, I picked it back up, and I turned it off. And I go, what's the point of stewing in something I can't change for another 4.5 minutes when I could just get on the phone and make more calls? I don't need 5 minutes to accept it. I'm just going to, and it became the 5-second rule. And then I want to put a bow on this to really bring home your question about anticipating this.
Yeah.
It evolved to what I call my philosophy is accept life before it happens. What that means is you understand that all emotional pain is self-created by our resistance to our reality. It's our wishing and wanting that something were different, that can't be different because it's in the past, that causes all of our emotional pain. It's not the thing. We always think it's the thing. Of course I'm upset. Look at what happened. Look at what she did. Look at what he said. Look at what, of course I'm angry, right? No, we always point at something as the cause of what we're feeling. But the real reality is, no, once you accept that those things happened, you give yourself the gift of peace. It's the resistance, the wishing and wanting it didn't happen that is actually the cause of emotional pain. So accepting life before it happens means that you decide, okay, I've got more stuff coming down the pipe. I got more disappointment and failure and loss and catastrophic events. They're coming. I'm going to accept that those things are going to happen before they even happen, so that I don't have to experience, unnecessary emotional pain. And when I was diagnosed with cancer and I was given a 20 to 30% chance of living, that day, literally, when the doctor told me, I went, okay, I've already accepted that things like this were going to happen, not this one specifically, but how can I make the best of it? And I told my wife, I said, sweetheart, she was bawling her eyes out when I went home and told her I had cancer. And I said, I promise you, just like with my car accident, I will be the happiest and the most grateful I have ever been while I endure the most difficult time in our lives. And I'm here for you to feel whatever you need to feel, but I can't change that I have cancer. So I'm going to do the best I can to get through it. And then once again, the doctors were kind of blown away by how quickly my body healed and the cancer cells were not detectable anymore. And, I believe so much because of those experiences in that mind-body connection.
Is there any ill effect from coming off of chemo? I wanted to ask you that. You mentioned you decided to come off, but yeah, the healing you experienced, chronicled in the movie, unbelievable movie, by the way, but have you seen any ill effects? How long has it been, if you don't mind me asking?
I got off chemo May of 2020. So it's been a year and a half. No, my blood work, my everything improved, and that's the thing about, that's a whole nother episode about the Western medical system.
Sure.
and how they poison us with chemotherapy, but they know nothing. My doctors knew nothing, and these are some of the best, oncologists. Literally some of the best in the world that like go give talks at to other oncologists. But they knew nothing about the role diet played. My oncologist literally told me on day one, eat whatever you want as long as you do the chemo. I go, are you kidding me? Like, it was a mess. But no, so no negative effects from getting off the chemo. My cancer is nowhere to be found. No signs of it coming back, and I'm finally able to rebuild my body. I started chemo, 5 or so years ago, got off a year and a half ago, and I don't count my my cancer journey. To me, it's once I stopped poisoning my body a year and a half ago, not once they declared me in remission, which was like 3 months after I started chemo, right? Like I still kept poisoning my body after that. So, and I will say this, let me just give one tip. If anybody's listening to this and you have cancer or someone that has cancer, the best advice that I can give you is to not, if you're going to do chemotherapy, like that's like, I opted to do it. If you're going to do whatever the, Western medicine, whatever your doctor's telling you, I support that. Here's what I encourage you to do. Take responsibility for your health, for your healing. Do not leave it up to the doctor. Do not leave it up to the hospital, because they have a limited set of tools that they are using to try to help you. And for me, it was going on a mission of, I'm going to combine the best of Western medicine with every holistic practice that I can possibly integrate into my healing. And I did coffee enemas 3 times a week. I did a raw vegan diet. I took 70 supplements that I vetted to make sure they didn't have any crap in them, and magnesium stearate and all of that. I did lymphatic massage. I did ozone sauna. I did meditate, my miracle morning every day, and I meditated on healing my cells and my body. I mean, on and on and on and on and on. And I'll share one resource. There's a lot out there, but one of my favorite resources is Chris, CHRIS, chrisbeatcancer.com. And Chris is someone that was at like stage 3 or stage 4 cancer. Doctor said, if you don't do chemo, you'll die. He did 0 chemo, 0 radiation, 100% holistic. And he's been cancer-free for like 14 years. And then he went on a mission of interviewing the best holistic doctors in the world to bring that to people. So again, chrisbeatcancer.com. That was one of my favorite resources to learn about all the holistic practices.
Look, if you don't mind, we'll go there for a little bit. We'll come back to, I want to talk miracle equation, because you mentioned faith in there. And I love the concept of unwavering faith and extraordinary action. But now you said you stopped poisoning your body 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whenever it was. What does it look like today? I know you've got this incredible concoction you put together, this shake that you make with like 8,000, 9,000 different ingredients in it or whatever. But like, what does that look like today for you? What does stop poisoning your body mean? And what is the diet today? Is it everything you described, the supplements, all of that still, or is it modified?
Yeah. So it's no pharmaceuticals for sure. Unless, there's an acute thing where I've got a migraine that,
Sure.
So that rarely will I put something that's a pharmaceutical, or even over the counter. No Tylenol, no Advil, nothing that wasn't made in nature. Right. Like that for me is it. So that, so no pharmaceuticals, and unless, absolutely necessary. And then for me, I wake up every morning. So I do green tea first thing in the morning. That's how I start my day. And green tea's got a lot of anti-cancer properties, plus gives you a real nice mental, and physical energy boost. But with L-theanine, all green tea contains L-theanine, which balances out the caffeine. So you have a nice kind of energetic, you get a little energy, but it doesn't have the crash that comes with like coffee. And then I do Saturday and Sunday are kind of my cheat days, where I do drink coffee on Saturday and Sunday, but green tea Monday through Friday. I drink a lot of water throughout the day. And then I do a smoothie, and you can actually get the smoothie recipe at, mymiraclemorning.com. There's a bunch of bonuses there from the book. One is the smoothie recipe that I drink every morning. It's going to look like, you're going to think, oh my gosh, it's got garlic in it. It's got ginger in it. I can't handle that. You could leave, if you can't do ginger, you can leave it out. But it actually tastes really good, believe it or not. And it's got, like you said, 9,000, it's got like 25 different ingredients, herbs and powders and all sorts of organic ingredients. So I do that. And then I have a salad for lunch, and it's a really robust salad. I'm big on high fat diet. So my smoothie has Brazil nuts in it. It has a handful of pecans in it. It's got a lot of fat in it and a lot of protein. And then same thing with my salad at lunch. It has pistachios, sunflower seeds, avocado. So it's a very high fat vegan salad. And then I have a second smoothie. I make a huge smoothie. I have it broken in two. So I have the second half in the afternoon around 3:30. And then I have whatever my wife makes for dinner, which usually she'll make some, a couple times a week, grass-fed steak, some, wild caught. Actually, I don't do fish anymore because of all the mercury and other things. I only do fish from streams, right? So if it's been in the ocean, our oceans are so polluted, I will not eat it. But I will eat freshwater fish like salmon that's been up the stream, although not farm-raised salmon. I just read it the other day, an interesting article on how it's one of the unhealthiest foods that we can eat, which back in the day, I used to have that all the time, just farm-raised salmon, which is where most restaurants are getting their salmon. So yeah, I encourage you to do a little research on that if you eat salmon like that. But she'll make, she'll make chicken. She does usually like chicken 2 nights a week, beef 2 nights a week, grass-fed beef, vegetarian 2 nights a week, right? So she kind of mixes it up. And then that's it. And then I do a very small amount. I have a sweet tooth, but I learned, I basically scrape a few bites out of the ice cream and that's it. I mean, literally. So 1 pint of ice cream that has 3 servings will give me like 10 servings. I just get just a little bit just to give me that flavor. But minimal sugar.
That's discipline. I have an insatiable sweet tooth as well, but man, that's inspiring. I mean, I love it's a shift, right? You took this and this is what you are now. It's not something you're doing. There's no willpower, I don't believe, involved.
No, it's just, I love my smoothie. I love my salad. And that's the thing is I tweaked them until they taste really, really good. So they're super healthy. And let me say this, one of the things that helped me, the mindset shift I made around diet was most of us eat for taste. Right? You think about it. You go to a restaurant, you look at the menu and you go, what looks good? Ooh, yeah, that looks good. Right? It's like this, eating's an emotional sport. You literally, it's this emotional reaction of, ooh, yeah. Ooh, they have that on the menu. Like, think about that, right? You're literally letting your emotions dictate what you put in your mouth. And here was the distinction. Here's the mindset shift. It's choose to value the consequences of the food you eat above the taste of the food you eat. Choose to value the consequences above the taste. It doesn't mean you eat stuff that doesn't taste good. It means you eat things that are healthy. And then as long as it's healthy, right, you find the things that taste the best. So my salad is like, it's like a gourmet salad. It's amazing. I make it every day.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I've had this, health for me has always been a back and forth thing. Like I'll be really clean, really good for a bit. And then I fall off and I go down this rabbit hole of pints of ice cream all over the floor, or whatever the hell it is. Right. But I thought of it like GoBundance, right? We're entrepreneurs. So the business terms of it. And I think of it like, we are the CEO and our brain is like that right-hand man of ours that we listen to. We listen to them. Right. And our brain is going to tell us, eat this food, do that. Like you said, I'm looking at the menu item. But sometimes as a CEO, you go down to the team, the liver, the lungs, the heart, whatever, and you talk to them and they're like, hey, look, we're working hard for you, but your guy over here is telling you the wrong stuff. This is what we need. And sometimes we have to go down to your point. I like that. Value the consequence. Valuing that consequence means you're listening to the rest of your body as opposed to the brain to say, okay, my body needs X, whether it's, a level of fats or fibers or whatever it may be. Right. So it's a fascinating way to put it. Value the consequence above the taste. Cause we're beholding these little white dots on our tongue connected to our brain. Like they hold us hostage over food. Oh my God. That's unbelievable.
And consider that the taste of your food benefits you for the duration of eating it.
True. Yeah.
And then you suffer the consequences for the rest of the night and the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So you got to weigh the pros and the cons,
Salad for me tonight, Hal. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
The power of masterminding. All right, let's talk real quick about, I want to just ask you this question on the miracle equation. You've got the equation right on the cover. People can know what it is. Unwavering faith plus extraordinary effort equals the miracle, right? When did you realize that equation was in play? I mean, you've applied it. You've always had it. That's what happened back when you had your car accident in Cutco. Great story in here about that last minute sort of, push to sold at the very, very last minute of the deadline. I love it, love it, love it. I hearken back to it. No bullshit all the time when I think I'm like, I should just stop. No. That story of Hal's. But when did you realize this was the equation? Because the book to me is equally, if not more powerful than The Miracle Morning, just for me.
Yeah.
So when did you realize that was the equation in your life? And when did that come together for you?
So the miracle equation, and for anybody that's not familiar, the subtitle kind of tells you what the book's about, which is it's the two decisions that move your biggest goals from possible to probable to inevitable. And if you study the world's most successful people, I find that these are the two decisions they make over and over and over and over and over again. I mean, you can't really find someone that's successful unless they happen to get lucky and fall into it that didn't literally make these decisions. So when I was 20, right, that initial story that you just referenced, I was trying to break a company record, do something that had never been done in 50 years. And the odds were stacked against me. In fact, they were stacked against me because normally it's a 14-day sales period. And the day before day one, our manager says, hey guys, they just cut this short by 4 days. You only have 10 days to take your goals. And I said, and I was trying to break this record where I was trying to do 3 of these in a row over a certain threshold that no one had done before. And this was the third one. And I go, no. Please tell me that this doesn't count for what my manager knew what I was trying to do. I said, please tell me it doesn't count for what I'm trying to do, because like I need the full 14 days. That's not fair, you know? And he goes, sorry, Hal, I checked on it. It is what it is. This is it. I go, what I was trying to do was nearly impossible. In fact, it's never been done before in 14 days.
Right. And
you just told me I have 10. And so that night I drove home from the meeting and I'm like in my head going, I was so discouraged. I was mad. I was like, how could they do that to me? That's messed up. And I was thinking about just kind of not doing the goal. And then I remembered something that one of my mentors had taught me. And this is actually a Jim Rohn quote or philosophy. The purpose of a goal is not to hit the goal. The ultimate purpose is to become the type of person that you need to be that's capable of achieving your goals. So in other words, it's the growth that you experience, that you acquire by giving it everything you have toward a goal, even if you don't end up getting there. And so I was like, oh, okay. Well, what if I take that approach? What if I give it everything I have, regardless of my results along the way, even if I'm on day 9 out of 10 and I'm only halfway to my goal and there's no way I'm going to achieve it. Mm-hmm. I thought, who would that make me? Like, who would I become if I could maintain that level of commitment, even in the face of what seems like an impossibility? So I took it on with that. And I asked myself, what's the mindset how do I need to approach this? And those 2 decisions came up for me. I go, okay, I need to maintain unwavering faith that I can achieve the goal. The way that looked was actually whenever I felt doubt, I had to override the doubt or the fear that I was going to miss the goal with verbal faith. Like, no. I'm committed to give it everything I have until the last moment. There is no other option. And I said that over and over and over. Every time I wasn't on track, I had a no sale, I missed an appointment, etc. And then in the first week, I sold $7,000. I was trying to sell, it was Cutco. I was trying to sell $20,000, third time in a row. And first week I sold $7,000. So just do the math, right? Now, if you're in real estate, you're like, oh, these are small numbers. I was selling kitchen knives, right? But so I sold $7,000 the first week. Now, remember, I only had 10 days and I was trying to sell $20,000. So I worked my ass off to sell $7,000 in 7 days. And now I had 3 days left to sell $13,000. Mm-hmm. Well, that makes no sense. If I gave it everything I had and sold $1,000 a day, I was on track to sell $10,000, not 20. But I committed to number 1, unwavering faith. I was not allowed to say anything for those 10 days other than I'm going to reach my goal. I'm going to sell $20,000 no matter what. There's no other option. That was my first decision. The second decision was extraordinary effort, right? Ordinary effort is doing what you feel like, right? You give it your all. I'm not on track. I'm going to throw in the towel. And once the faith goes out the window, the effort follows right behind it. And I went, I'm going to give it everything I have until the last possible moment, even if it doesn't look like it's going to happen. And that's so counterintuitive. That is emotionally, that's not how we work. We're not wired to go, hey, there's no chance in hell I'm going to reach this goal. So therefore, I'm going to give it everything I have, right? Like that's not how we're wired. So it was a real counterintuitive commitment, decision. No matter what, I'm going to put forth extraordinary effort and maintain unwavering faith. And in those final 3 days, I sold $10,000. I ended up being able to squeeze in one last appointment, and I ended up selling 3,000. I mean, it's a crazy story. If you can read the book, like it was the most unlikely scenario, and it happened. And I ended up at $20,135 in miraculous fashion. And I started calling that my miracle equation. I go, dude, I'm going to try this again. And I tried it the next time I had an opportunity, and it happened the same way. I wasn't on track. My faith was tested. I continued to maintain those two decisions. And then in the 11th hour, it happened again. So I started teaching it to my clients, my colleagues, all my fellow Cutco reps. I gave them coaching on how to do exactly what I did. It wasn't rocket science. It was so simple, but so counterintuitive, so not normal. And every single one of my colleagues, they went out and they broke their own personal best, or they broke a record. And so then I started approaching it to the rest of applying that to the rest of my life. I applied it to the Miracle Morning. When I published the book, my goal was to sell 1 million copies the first year. I sold 13,000 copies. Now, I was discouraged. I was 987,000 copies short of my goal. But the miracle equation is unwavering faith and extraordinary effort until you achieve your goal, however long it takes. And so I tried year 2, didn't do it. I sold like 23,000 copies. I tried year 3. It took 6 years. But the lesson I learned from that, and I really want to impart this lesson on everybody listening. When you finally get to the point that you've been working for in your life working so hard for so long, feeling frustrated that it wasn't happening in the timing that you wanted. But if you keep going, you keep maintaining unwavering faith, putting forth extraordinary effort, and then you finally get to that point, you finally reach that goal, you almost never wish it would have happened any sooner. Instead, you look back and you go, oh, it had to take that many years. It had to take that long. I had to go through those adversities. Now I see, right? Like Steve Jobs said, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And so for me with the Miracle Morning, it took 6 years to sell 1 million copies. But when I finally got there, it wasn't like I was like, dang it, this sucks. I can't believe it took this long, right? No, I was like, oh my gosh, it freaking happened. We did it. I did it. It almost was more rewarding that it took 6 years and that I had to push through so much self-doubt and uncertainty to maintain unwavering faith and put forth extraordinary effort. And finally it happened. And then the last thing I want to say on that is when I was diagnosed with cancer, I asked myself, I was given a 20 to 30% chance of surviving, right? Those are horrible odds. That's a 70 to 80% chance I was going to die and leave my 7-year-old daughter without a dad and my 4-year-old son without a dad and my wife without a husband, right? I mean, those were the odds. Yeah. And the day that I was diagnosed and given those odds, I told my wife, I said, sweetheart, I know that 20 to 30% of people that get this cancer survive it. I promise you, in my mind, I'm applying the miracle equation. There is a 100% chance that I will be among the 20 to 30% of the survivors. So yes, statistically 20 to 30%, but for me, it's 100% that I'm in that 20 to 30, period. No other option. And I maintained unwavering faith and I put forth extraordinary effort by doing, like I said earlier, the best of Western medicine, but I did even more that was Eastern, and holistic. And again, I really believe that when you are one of the few people that is willing to approach your life and your goals with unwavering faith through all the ups and the downs and the short-term failures, and you're willing to put forth extraordinary effort, even when you don't feel like it, even when it looks like you're not going to reach that goal, and you're willing to maintain those two decisions for as long as it takes, you put yourself in a rare group of people that creates what I call tangible, measurable miracles, which are just simply results that you look back and you go, I can't even believe I did that. That's incredible, right? And you're just astounded that you were able to pull it off. But if you maintain those two decisions, I believe it's inevitable.
One follow up on that, and then I want to hear more about what you're working on and where you might want to direct people. But at what point or how do you determine when to maintain that faith and effort towards something versus give up and say, hey, you know what, this isn't for me to pursue any further? How do you know how to do that?
I think there's two answers to that. Number one is intuition. I think if we really spend time in silence, which is part of the first. Yeah. The Miracle Morning is the savers, silence, affirmations, visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. It's that acronym for those 6 practices. The first one is silence. Wisdom is born in periods of silence. That's why you have your best thoughts in the shower, or, when you're falling asleep at night, right? When we're all day long looking at most of us fill silence with the phone, right? Even if we're not filling it with auditory, sound, we're filling it with visual stimulation. Most of us we rarely spend time in peaceful, purposeful, intentional silence. When you do, and you really listen to your intuition, and you really allow yourself to receive the wisdom that is always available to you, whether it's from, collective consciousness, God, a higher power, or just your own internal intuition. I do believe that it's always there. It's always available to us. We just have to slow down and spend time in silence to listen to it. That's the first answer.
Yeah.
The second answer is you got to pay attention. With the Miracle Morning, the reason it became a book, it was my own practice. It wasn't going to be a book. I taught it to my coaching clients, and almost every single one of my clients said, dude, I'm not a morning person. Like, this isn't, I don't know. But because I was their coach and I had a little bit of leverage, and influence, I'm like, hey, commit to it for a week. If it doesn't work for you, it's fine. And I gave them some tips on, like, move your alarm clock across the room so it makes it easier to wake up, because you have to get out of bed to turn it off. Like, I set them up for success. But I think it was 13 out of 14 clients came back to their next call and said, Hal, I'm a Miracle Morning guy, or gal. Like, it worked. I am a morning person. I have never been. I have the best week in my sales career. I'm reading, I'm exercising, I'm crushing it. Like, I'm doing the Miracle Morning, and it works. It's amazing, right? And when that happened, I went, okay, if this Miracle Morning practice changed my life, and I wasn't a morning person, far from it, and almost all my clients were not morning people, this could change the world. And so then I started sharing it with more and more people on interviews and in speeches, and just paying attention to what I call microcosm feedback, right? That micro feedback. And you're going, wait a minute, there's enough of a sampling of feedback from what I'm doing, right? And it might not be, if you're investing in real estate, it might be feedback from your investment strategies, right? So maybe it's not directly from humans. For me, it was people telling me this is changing my life. And these were people, different ages, different, really universally, all demographics, different professions, etc. So that was it. It was really paying attention. And then I have a responsibility to share this with the world. I have to write a book. And then and this is important, that first year, my goal, 1 million, I'm going to change 1 million lives one morning at a time. That was how I phrased my goal. And it was sell 1 million books. I sold 13,000 books. Now, did I feel discouraged? Absolutely. And, most authors I've talked to, when I tell them that, they're like, dude, I would have given up and focused on my next book. But of the 13,000 books that I sold, and of the, 700 reviews on Amazon, I just read them, and they went, this got me off my depression medication. The Miracle Morning saved my marriage. The Miracle Morning transformed my life in this way and that way and that way, right? I just paid attention, and I went, okay, even though I was 98.7% short of my goal, it doesn't change that the Miracle Morning, my idea, my thing, my business, my intellectual property, right? It is transforming people's lives. I just got to figure out how to get it to more people. So that was really it. It was paying attention to the feedback from what I was putting out there. That was how I knew, keep on it. And I've had a lot of ventures where I did something and it was like, yeah, it's okay. Like, I've had coaching programs in the past, other stuff, right? But I intuitively knew it wasn't the thing. And I paid attention to the feedback that's like, yeah, it's pretty good. But you know what? Half of my group coaching clients quit every few months. Like my retention rate's not that great. So I can either keep trying to make it better, or I can go, you know what? I'm going to move on to something else until I find the thing that is making the impact that tells me this is the right course.
Man, what's funny, and I give you a lot of credit in my life for this. I'm one of those million that you've changed lives with. But similarly, I with the Merge, the GoBundance program that I started with the elders, with Mike and David and all the others. We sold 30 of them, whatever, $800 a pop, something like that, before I even had a course. Just like, okay, sure, yeah, let's do a beta test. Sold 30 of them. We ran people through the 90-day course, and at the end of it, it wasn't like a life-changing amount of money to make on 30, but the feedback, to your point, was like, oh, there it is. That's what feels right. This feels right. Maybe quit my job. So I quit this, multi-$100,000 a year job to do exactly that. But a lot of that was because of the practices that you provided, from reading your book, from getting to know more about you, because meditation, silence, I do a silent retreat once a quarter, a weekend, just to get away and clear my brain. Well, I credit you with that, honestly, because your influence brought me there. So I love what you just said. I mean, every bit of it. So anyway, I want to respect your time. What right now are you working on? What do you want to promote? What do you want to put out there? What should the world get from Hal Elrod right now?
Yeah, I took a sabbatical the second half of 2021. I took 6 months off. My wife and I bought a 30-acre ranch, and I wanted to support her and getting it all set up. And then going into 2022, I was going to extend the sabbatical. And in December, I just got the message from the universe. It's like, Hal, dude, you got your time off. Like the world is challenged right now. And now is not the time to take more time off. It's the time to re-engage with the Miracle Morning mission. And, we have millions of people around the world that do the Miracle Morning. And it just goes back to 3 million books have been sold, roughly. That means there's 7 billion people that have never heard of the Miracle Morning, that it could change their life in these profound ways that it's changed the lives of so many others. And so that for me is, as long as it takes to reach 7 billion people. I have a feeling that I'll be doing podcast interviews when I'm in my 90s, right? Going, all right, we still got a couple billion people that don't know about the Miracle Morning. So that's really it. I'm really focused on that. This is our 10-year anniversary of the book, December. I published Miracle Morning originally 2012. And so this year will be the 10-year anniversary, and I'm going to publish a brand new updated and expanded edition. And so, yeah, we launched a few more things. The Miracle Morning movie, you mentioned that earlier. Amazing. That is now on Amazon Prime. It's on iTunes. If you go to miraclemorning.com, that's the hub to find everything. All the books are there. The movie's there. We launched the Miracle Morning app in January, just a month and a half ago. It has 10,000 users, so that's super exciting. And then the Miracle Morning community. We have a Facebook group with 330,000 members from 200 plus countries that wake up every day and support each other. And it's a really great, engaging, supportive, inspiring group to be a part of. So again, go to miraclemorning.com, and there's a bunch, you can get free stuff there, free resources, but that's a great hub to find everything the Miracle Morning. And there's the Miracle Equation, the book that we talked about. That's on you can find that on the Miracle Morning website too.
Got it right here behind the mic. I put it out in front for the YouTube channel. So there you go.
Awesome.
Amazing. Honestly, all of your books, I have 3 of them over here, are all incredible. Hal, I really appreciate the gift of your time today. And thanks so much for all of your knowledge, all of your wisdom, and for all of your energy. It's just, wow, you're engaging in that way. So thanks for being here, man.
Thank you, Jamie. I appreciate you, brother.